It's an emotion, it's an energy that is giving you information about something that doesn't work for you
Mhm.
anymore.
Are there bad emotions or good emotions? And are your emotions sacred or can you make them sacred? And what about rage? For some reason, that's always what I think of when I say the word. In fact, my best friend and I have kind of a running joke. Every time we say rage, we always go rage. Do you do you think rage can be sacred? I think it can. It's one of the most primal feelings that you can feel as a human. And Patty Alfonso and I are here today to talk about sacred rage. Welcome, Patty, and thank you for coining the term or for yeah, you brought it up in our last episode and it really stood out to me. So welcome and thank you for being here to talk about rage. See,
Thank you
I
for
even did
having
it then.
me.
Rage.
Rage. You gotta give it a little more guttural.
Yes, I don't know.
Rage.
Yes, and, we have lots of male listeners. Mwah, I love you.
Mm,
I think that this conversation well, you know what? It could be especially good for men because, I think, society accepts or welcomes male anger a lot more than female, but also that one of the reasons we have so-called toxic masculinity is that a lot of that anger that men are, told is okay to feel can become so destructive because they don't know how to wield it. And for females, we're really never told that it's okay to even be angry, much less be full of rage.
yeah,
So
the
this
disservice to the masculine is that it's the only emotion they're allowed to feel
Mhm.
is anger and
Yeah.
rage. And so it suppresses the whole other spectrum of emotions that are available to us. And I think that's why things start to come out sideways. What you're calling toxic masculinity, for me, it's just an energy or an
Mhm.
emotion that hasn't allowed itself to fully course through. And so it just kind of goes sideways in different ways rather than the healthy expression of emotions, which is important for all of us.
Well, before we get into it, tell everyone your website and where to go find you. She's got some really cool programs going on right now. Um,
Uh, Thank you, darling. I'm at pattyalfonso.com and I do have a lot of cool things going on. There's also a free gift on the website to rediscover your erotic innocence, which I think we'll touch on even in this sacred rage
okay.
conversation. So, yeah, go check it out.
And wherever you are listening or watching, go back up into the feed. Patty and I have did an episode recently on erotic innocence, and it
Mhm.
was it was beautiful. And yes, that is what led to this conversation.
Yeah.
So, Patty, what is rage?
Rage. What is rage? I mean, anger, frustration, judgment is a subtle form of rage. If you're feeling, I'm trying to think of like the precursors to that explosion. If
Mhm.
you're feeling critical, distant, if you're disgusted, if you're disapproving of something, like these are all the different flavors,
Mhm.
and some of them even precursors to that big energy of rage, anger, fury, hatred. Like
Mhm.
those are all, they all kind of fall in that umbrella of rage. And like you said, it's one of our most primal emotions. I think it's such an important emotion for us to pay attention to
Mhm.
because it's giving us information.
Yes.
Another word that came up to me when I was thinking about this is like tolerating. Like when you're tolerating something, right? That's also low grade, subtle, kind of like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just putting up with this, but I don't really want to," kind of energy.
And it starts
And
to bubble and you will feel it
exactly,
physically. And that is something that's
exactly.
specific about rage that even in anger we don't feel as much is that the physical overload that will force us to take some sort of action.
Exactly. And
Mm,
like I said, it's an emotion, it's an energy that is giving you information about something that doesn't work for you
mm.
anymore. And it does bubble up. There are some physical aspects to this energy. For me, I notice like my jaw starts to clench if I'm not fully aware, but I'm feeling angry about something, like I feel it in my jaw. For some people, it's a tightness in the chest or in the solar plexus,
Some
your
people will
heart rate.
talk about, seeing red,
Yes.
which I have actually experienced, I think 2, maybe 3 times in my life where, I mean, it was that's a very good way to put it because all of the sudden you are
Yeah.
snapped into so much imbalance that I know for me, like, my vision even was kind of foggy because I was in so much shock and rage about what was happening, and I'll
Yeah.
definitely tell my stories.
Yeah.
You can go in going along with the physical symptoms. You probably know a lot because of your work about fight or flight or fawn.
Mhm.
Can you just
Mhm.
say really quickly, what that looks like when you're full of rage?
Yeah, I mean, it's can look different for everyone depending on how much you allow yourself to actually access that energy.
Mm.
So fight, flight, fawn, freeze, and then we have flop now as well. And it's basically
This is evolving all the time. Like, I
yeah.
definitely need an
All the
episode.
time,
Fu
and it's just the way your system responds to certain things. And with
Mm,
rage, I think we usually think of like fight or flight. So you want to get in a fight with
mm,
someone, or you want to get
mm,
the hell out, or
mm.
but fawning can also happen. You were talking about that like in your previous
I even no matter
marriage.
how badly he treated me, I would just beg him to, let it go rather than
Yeah.
standing up for myself because I couldn't do
Yeah.
it all the time, and also, yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of my way of hoping that we could get back to an equilibrium
Right.
is
Well, it's
just doing whatever he
exhausting.
wanted.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
exhausting on so many
Yes.
levels.
Mhm,
You're fawning, you're people pleasing, you're just like trying to keep the peace, but meanwhile, like your needs aren't getting met
mhm.
at all. And, their response to everything is this unhealthy rage that it's just so damaging to the body, to the nervous system, to your emotional well-being, to your mental, it's just when not embodied with consciousness, and when not like really being present with the energy and what it means for you, it can cause a lot of damage. But I don't want
Yeah.
to just put it in that category because it's so important as well. But we have to allow ourselves to feel it and to move it
Mm.
rather than just like suppress it or hold it down or talk ourselves out of it, you
Or
know?
act upon it in the moment, which, we will
Yeah.
be talking about ways to make it sacred and
Yeah.
ways to prevent it from being,
What,
destructive. What were you taught in your household growing up about anger or rage?
oh my gosh. Well, um, um, I used to say that my dad, well, I would say it anyway if he's passed away, but I used to say that he was a rageaholic. Like he had issues with rage. And he would come home and my mom and dad would get into these enormous, loud fights, throwing things. And it was
Oh,
usually
wow.
my dad doing the
Mhm.
yelling and my
Yep.
mom just sitting there quiet, looking at him, like not saying anything, not
Mm,
adding fuel to the fire, and just quiet, like taking it in a sense. So, I was also taught that really only my dad was allowed to be that angry, because anytime I got angry, that was a problem.
yep.
And I'm like, well, he does it, like, what's up? And I was always pointing out that it was so unhealthy the way that he was expressing his anger, but everybody made excuses for that. Well, that's
Mhm,
just how he is. And don't bug him right now. He's in a bad mood, or, don't do this. And like it was all kind of walking on eggshells to protect his anger, but not protect us. And then, of
mhm.
course, well, that led me into a bunch of unhealthy relationships. Like
Yep.
as a child, that's what you see. So that's what you think is normal. And that's how you think people relate to each other. So I went about my life creating all kinds of
Mm,
unhealthy relationships with men who had alcohol problems or drug issues or rage issues as well. And it took me years to even connect to that energy within myself because it just wasn't allowed. We just had to like sit and smile and be pretty and nod and don't make a ruckus and don't complain and don't, just be pretty and be cute and that's it. So my relationship with rage has been really interesting over my lifetime. And I think where I was most able to express and be with that energy in a healthy way was in the dance studio, in the S Factor studio, where I could embody the erotic creature that was connected to rage, which was the dangerous
Mhm.
challenger. And it was through that body of work that I started really, first of all, moving all of the like pent up energy that was in my body, but also embodying it in a healthy way. And that's really about breath, movement, sound,
Yes.
which we can talk about a little bit later
Mhm.
when it comes
Yes.
to like how to embody that.
Mhm.
But and rage was something that I was afraid of for a really long
Yes, my
time.
story, also also goes back to my dad originally.
Yeah.
Enormous anger problem that I remember from the youngest age, like physically violent, screaming. One of my sad stories from my life is, the year that on Christmas Eve he got mad at us kids for playing and, punched an enormous hole in the wall. Like that's a really happy, that's a fun memory to have as a
Right.
10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And but at the same, but also, I don't know about you, my mom would kind of wield it against us in that if we were, bad, we had in our household growing up, wait till your dad gets home.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Oh, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
telling you, when you know that time's coming in the evening.
Ooh. Well, my mom just had the look. Like, if we
Mhm.
were out in public and we were doing something, she would just give us it wasn't even words, it was just the look, and we knew to just, like, quiet down and
She
not
would be like, "Dad is on his way
yeah,
home."
yeah.
And
I've
so,
told him everything.
oh,
Ah!
yeah. I mean, you would hear her even tell, oh, I mean, in a way,
Yeah,
poor dad too, because that's, he's working full time and then, but
yeah,
so, and also we weren't supposed to really show that type of emotion, at all. But I would sometimes. My parents were just so strict and awful. And I would remember once in a while the frustration over, especially as a teenager, they just making things so hard for me. And once in a while, the anger would boil and boil and boil, and I would kind of
yeah,
explode. And what I know now is those explosions that I had where it would turn into rage was, even as a child, me knowing in my body that what was going on in the home wasn't
right.
right. And
Yep,
so that is why I continue to feel these things. um and then eventually this was information for me that this
yeah,
was not a way to live. And also,
yeah,
have you ever had a seeing red moment that you felt what like
mm.
transformative? Because
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was recalling this is the thing about when this energy, rage, can become sacred and can
Mhm.
actually fuel you in a healthy way. I was going through a breakup and it was devastating, and things happened that were so just whoa. And I was very angry, and I took that energy and I was like, fuck it.
Yep.
I got myself a ticket to the Cayman Islands. I holed up in an Airbnb for like 2 weeks,
Go
and I wrote
you.
and I wrote a book. I wrote a book and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to pour
Mhm.
all of this
Mhm.
energy into something that, will be a contribution to the world. So when we don't suppress any of our emotions, everything is available. So instead of like stuffing down that energy, like my mom was
Yeah.
really good at stuffing it down. And I think that's also why she ended up getting cancer.
Mhm.
they both just had anger issues. So instead of like stuffing it down and squashing your creativity, when you let that energy move and you let it speak to you and you let it drive you in a healthy way, you can create all kinds of things.
I remember thank you, and I wanna read this book. I what for me and my breakup, I it just like I said, it had been bubbling under the surface for so long, and I will never forget the day that I called my ex in the middle of the day, and I was even at work, and I said, in the most measured of ways, "Don't come to the apartment tonight, find somewhere else to stay, like, you are not welcome here." And, of
Mm,
course, he didn't really like that, like, "What you gonna do?" And
yeah.
I said, I'm not sure because you're not coming to the apartment because you're not welcome there." And so
Mm,
and yes, it was the beginning of the separation, but and yeah, that was my rage speaking, but it was my rage
yeah.
channeled in a healthy way, I
To take
didn't.
care of you. It was taking
Yeah,
care of
mhm.
you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will I will never forget that. I was nannying, and I was standing in the woman's kitchen who I was nannying for, and I just called them, and I'm just like, "Don't don't
Yeah.
come anywhere near here." But my
Mhm.
seeing red moment actually came, a couple months later because so my friends knew that what we were going through, um, well, they knew then because I'd been keeping it to myself for quite a while, and in
Yeah.
fact, when I finally came clean to maybe like 4 or 5 of my closest friends, everyone was completely shocked, because
Mhm.
they thought, we presented so well, and so I had, yeah, like I said, maybe 4 or 5 really close friends who rallied around me, and really I thought I was very blessed to have this group of friends and started
Mhm.
telling people everything, started spending more time with them, and yeah, really thought I had built a strong support system. Well,
Yeah.
only to find out through the grapevine, and this is still very painful for me, but only to find out through the grapevine that 3 of the people in like this core network, um, with completely unbeknownst to me were carrying on very 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 strongly with my ex. Like these were friends of mine from school who
Mm.
had continued to hang out with him, continued to go to his friends shows, and then continued to see me at what in a couple cases lied to me about it. And i
Mm.
i never would have thought in a million years that anyone in this core network of friends would be out like
Wow.
socializing with him at all, and when I found out, I saw red to the point of, like, I almost felt like I couldn't see for a couple seconds because I was so
Mm.
shocked. Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, no, it's very hard, and this is why I'm also pretty clear on that it is appropriate to be explicit about wanting people to take sides, and if you're going through a breakup, because this completely shattered me.
mm.
But like I said, I was in a good place overall. And so I
Mhm.
recognized, well, didn't fully recognize what was happening in my body because I'd only been that angry in my life one other time.
Yeah.
But I remember I calmed down. I went for a walk around the block. I asked someone else in the friend group to like get on the phone with me so I could talk it through because that's how I am.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then I waited 24 more hours, and then I wrote an email to the 3 of these women that
Yeah.
let's just say, they probably still remember this email to this day. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean,
mm,
listen, there's so many ways that we can channel and process our anger, and sometimes it is about communicating it. Like,
oh, I
"Hey,
let them know.
yeah, this
Mhm.
didn't work for me. That felt like a
Yeah.
betrayal." That,
Uh-huh.
whatever choice words,
Mhm.
I'm sure there were many. But
Well, and
finding ways to channel and move that energy is so important, and it could be any of the things that we've mentioned already:
and
writing, singing, moving, breath work, like
starting fresh, and yeah, before we go into, yeah, how to navigate this, because we both have a lot to say about it and things that can help.
mhm,
Um, it's always an opportunity to learn something about yourself,
yeah,
always. Why you would not be having that type of reaction to something if you if there wasn't something to learn, or if your
Yeah.
nervous system was signaling to you that something is horribly wrong.
Mhm.
And for me, it just taught me how much I need a safe space with my friends.
Mhm.
But more importantly, one of my biggest values in life and in all of my relationships, hands down, is loyalty.
Yeah.
And that is what that taught me, is that I really need to feel that inside of my
Yeah.
relationships. And um that I needed that in that moment as well. And that is perfectly fine. I think that, asking friends to take sides is fine. Needing to Feeling that you have loyalty around you
Mhm.
is, yeah, it's to this day been one of the biggest things that's, a motivating factor in my friendships and in my romantic partnerships. And when that gets off kilter even a little bit, it's challenging for me. And I do have
Yeah.
high expectations out of people, partially because of going through that experience.
And that's so important. And I love this point that you're hitting, about rage, anger, whatever the energy is, even sadness, the whole spectrum. They're always teaching us something
Mhm.
about ourselves, a need that we haven't had met yet, a desire that we haven't, fully allowed ourselves to have. Um, these emotions, these energies, they're just information. And we have to learn how to be with them, learn how to decode them for ourselves, and then create that space where we get to have our needs met, whether we're meeting them
Mhm.
for ourselves and we're making sure that the people around us can also meet those needs and that we can meet their needs, and there's open and honest vulnerable conversation. Like, I love that what you got out of that was like, wow, loyalty is really important to me,
Mhm.
and that's who I am, and that's what I need from the people around me.
So, there one of the differences between just like either anger or rage, or constructive versus destructive rage, is how we initially respond to it. So, one way that it becomes destructive is by being reactionary to it,
Mhm.
which is impulsive, destructive. These are things that we experience when we haven't been taught how to
Process
feel
or be
through it and
with.
process
Yeah.
it. It can lead to maybe missed opportunities. This is where inside of relationships that it can lead to, even sometimes people with a healthy connection having to part ways, because you can, say things that you regret, you could do things that you regret. How can we prevent rage from becoming destructive?
Yeah, okay, thank you. So we're going speaking as the individual, me myself. Let's start there and then we'll apply it to relationship. I think the most important thing is to get really present with, like you said, your body sensations and what is happening for you, so that you can start looking at, okay, when these things happen, I'm escalating in my anger, right? So what does it feel like in your body, let's say, when you're frustrated? How does your body move? How does your body respond? What's your breath like? Is your heart beating? Like, what's happening in your body when you're feeling frustrated or disappointed or irritated, right? These are all, like we said before, those sort of low grade before we get to that rage part.
And just,
And
not to interrupt, but what you said about the heartbeat, or really, for anybody who doesn't have this as like part of your mental or physical practice, I started taking my pulse years ago
mm,
because of various, anxiety and, depression issues that I had. And so whenever I would start to feel like so overwhelmed, I just stop and I take my pulse. Still, I did it 2 nights ago. This is such a good sign to me,
mhm,
that something's happening, even if I can't name
yeah,
it. And so I
yeah,
would, yeah, encourage people, just put your fingers on your pulse and listen to your body. It
yeah.
might tell you something that you really need to know, and it's a really good, just regular practice to get into.
I love that. I
Mhm.
love that so much because it's interesting, because for me, um, I notice something's off because my head tilts and, like, I'm like, huh? Like, there's a huh? Kind of
Yes.
energy that arises. And that's like super, super early sign of like something, huh? And that energy arises. And so then I can start paying attention and I can start tracking, okay, what was happening right now? What was said? What am I feeling? What's going on? So really getting present with your own body, and your body sometimes, a lot of the times, is going to give you information before your cognitive
Yep.
mind has caught up,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Yes.
Before the mind is like, oh, this is what's going on, your body is already responding, whether it's your heartbeat or that, like I said,
Mm,
tension in the jaw,
mhm.
tension in the chest, in the solar plexus, a little like what's going on
Well,
here.
and
So,
I mean, let's talk about continuing to move it through your body.
yes,
Something that I learned a long time ago, and I even mentioned it with my seeing red moment with my shitty friends, is I put on my tennis shoes and I get outside either to
yes,
go for a walk, and you need to come back into relation with your body and
with
work it
yourself.
through. And moving and going outside is a really good way to, snap things back into focus. But it
Yeah,
takes practice.
100%.
When you're
It
in the
does.
heat of the moment and you don't train yourself, this is not going to come to mind. I should go for a walk. You're not
Right,
thinking, clearly enough. And so it takes,
right.
baby steps and doing it over time and creating a muscle memory so that when you start to feel rage, you'll start to maybe even crave to go outside.
100%. And that is something that happens when you reach that high, high level. Your cognitive mind goes offline. And
Mhm.
then you're totally in your reptilian brain, which is all about like survival. How do
Yeah.
I defend myself? How do I take care of myself? What do I need to do? Whatever
Yeah.
those responses are for you. And I was going to say, thank you for naming it. Like in relation to someone else, I think it's really, really valuable to know when you've reached your limit and when it is time to walk away for a little while and calm yourself down and get more clear about what you need and what's going on. Once you're both triggered, it's not, I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not a healthy conversation when you're
Mm.
both in a really heightened state of trigger, especially if there's a lot of rage that's bubbling up with that. That's why I think it's important to start training yourself to notice before you get to that place. So that you can move the energy early and it doesn't have that build up explosive effect.
And that takes practice inside of a
It does take
relationship.
practice.
And
And
even
also, like, I think also, before the thought leaves,
Mhm.
a lot of us have built up anger already. So, how do you discharge from your body what has already been built up? And
Mm.
we talked about this right before we went live, but I've been to several rage rooms. And I think those
Please
are
tell us.
so incredible. They are so incredible to get it out of your body. Now, if you've never heard of a rage room, I actually don't know what they call them. I
Smash
think you
room?
you called it a smash
I think
room.
so. And this is a
And
way to make this shit sacred. Listen to Patty.
yeah.
Mhm.
I've been to a couple of different ones, and basically you go for an hour and you get to just hit stuff. You get a bat and you get all dressed up in your protective gear and a protective thing, and you get a bat or a crowbar, and you get locked in a room and you can play whatever music you want to play, and you just get to
Mm.
break stuff. Toasters, cups, glasses.
You
I
can
went
bring your
once.
own thing
Yeah,
to break if
yeah,
you want to.
TVs,
Okay.
cars, like, you can just go all out and just have a full on,
Cars.
yes, we had a windshield wiper once that we got to destroy, and so allowing your body to have the full expression, right, of that energy coursing through your body and out of your body, excuse me, to hit something is very healthy, especially when you're doing it with consciousness and awareness and presence with your body and you're noticing what's arising. Maybe you make yourself a nice little rage playlist.
Yep, go
Yeah.
on. Mhm.
Let those feelings come up, let your body feel them, and then express them in a healthy environment. So
Yes.
that is definitely.
And that makes
I
it
love me some good rage playlists to just like dance
yeah.
around, or
This is
there's so
very
many different things.
primal, which is
Yeah.
why I think doing something so physical like going to a rage room or a smash room does make it sacred, is because you're
Yeah.
really accessing and allowing this primal nature that we have inside of us to come out. And
Yeah.
one of my tips also was going to be to make a playlist. In the book Pussy, Regina Thomas Howard talks about
Yes.
doing swamps. And
Yes.
so this
I
is
love a
a
good swamp.
yes, and what a swamp is, everyone. It's when you are feeling particularly what we deem to be negative emotions, you lean into it as much as you
Mhm.
possibly can physically. So she talks in the book about putting on a garbage bag as her dress, making a playlist of angry music that you know is going to bring this out of you, hitting pillows, smashing something, getting it out, and maybe even I think she references this as well, making setting some sort of timer so that there's a
Mhm.
really strict container around
Container, yeah.
your practice, your swamp practice. And so you set the playlist, or you turn on the playlist, you set the timer, and you, for the next 10 minutes or 20, maybe even an
Yeah.
hour, get it out. And I promise you, you will notice a difference. I have a swamp playlist in Spotify
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
use. Yep, I do. And I
Well,
even
and
have a playlist for like songs that I listen to when I'm having some family uh,
yeah.
drama come up, because I know if I need to cry, these songs are
Mhm.
gonna get me there.
If you
Mhm.
search on Spotify and you put in swamp, you're gonna see a whole bunch of like so many people, and a really good swamp. There's three different kinds of songs.
Okay.
One is the ragey one is a sad one, and the other one I think is a love one. Don't quote me. You'll have to go check it out. And it's here's the thing about emotions is that they really only take 90 seconds to run through the whole body. What happens is that we get stuck in them and the stories, and we start replaying what's happened, and we start like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I argue with people like energetically.
Oh, girl.
"Oh, this shouldn't
Uh,
have done that," you know? So the thing about like doing a swamp with three different songs and three different emotions is that it shows you how quickly you can move from one to the other to the other. This is also the purpose, like, of a really good playlist in a sensual feminine movement class. It will take you on a journey through all of the flavors of the feminine, not just one. And the thing about the swamp too is about adding pleasure, like really getting really connected with your body and adding erotic energy to, right? Because that's part of it, right? This is all erotic energy. And so adding that erotic, pleasurable energy, that desire, that lust, that, letting it be alive in the
mhm.
body helps it to move through the body quickly as well. Again. So swamping, it's encouraged to like and make sounds and punch and but if you're in a situation where you can't make a lot of sound, you can also do it quietly, right? But just bring your whole body into it, like,
I live in an
right, you
apartment
can
where
do that, yeah.
mhm.
You don't want to
Mm,
scare the neighbors, with
no.
like rage. Rage. I went one time I took myself on a little vacation, and I was in this private suite in Palm Springs, and I did a couple of swamps because I was moving through some really intense energy. And the people at the front desk like called me. They're like, "So are you okay?"
Girl, you
I
are
didn't
so my
realize
hero.
that people had started coming in for like massages and spa things. So they called, and they're like, "We're just checking in. Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm
Wow.
fine."
Oh my
So it's
god.
okay to do it like quietly, and then just,
Yeah. Well, and for me,
but I'm also having so many memories of like, I used to take phone books and rip them up when I was really like
there's another
frustrated and
tip, boys and
angry.
girls. Rip up a
And
phone book.
ripping up phone books, you can hit pillows. Also, you could just take a pillow to your mouth and scream as loud as you can into the pillow. Again, we're just getting the energy out
Mm.
and up out of the body so that you have more space for other energies that are also wanting to come through.
I was going to say, I never really believed it, but it was
Mm,
suggested many times screaming into a pillow, and
yeah.
it actually is extremely effective. I've done it
Mhm.
somewhat recently, and also crying and sobbing into a
Yeah.
pillow.
Yeah.
You can. And also in a way, it's a different type of experience because all the vibration of the screaming and crying is like around your head. And so
Mm.
it's even like more
Mm.
physical and visceral, and
Yeah.
which is cool. Another tip I definitely want to mention, and this is something I've done for years, is writing slash journaling.
Yes.
And so one thing that I do is I use actual journals.
Nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I will when I'm kind of in the heat of my rage, um, I take an actual pen and I will, write, and I will even say, "Fuck you, fuck
All the
this."
things.
Yes,
All
to
the
the point
things.
that I actually sometimes, break the paper,
Yeah.
and, oh, it's
So
very
good.
therapeutic. When you are in the heat of the moment and these things are coming through, it's very eye-opening, um, to go back later and see what you wrote.
Yeah.
So please, 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 please try it. This is something that nobody else ever gets to see. And
Mhm.
so if like your rage has to do with another person, which presumably it would, um just say exactly how you're feeling in the moment,
Yeah.
get it out of your system. This
Yep.
is similar to going to a smash room, going on a walk.
I've done, like, rage painting, where I just
Oh.
get, like, brown and red colors and a big and just, like, make a mess, with all just, like, how can you just make a mess with it, but that it's contained, right? That's how we stop it from making a mess onto someone else.
Mhm,
I love the idea like, writing, I always tell my clients, like, "Oh, okay, well, why don't you write that letter
mhm.
the way you really want to say it. We don't have to send it. You can read it to a trusted person and just to like get it out of your system. You can also do a fire ritual with it. Like
Flush
write
it
out
down the
all,
toilet if you
you
live in
can
an
flush it down the
apartment and
toilet, you can bury it into the earth. Like what
Yeah.
is it that you can do that's going to support you in transmuting the energy? Because stuck rage is not healthy for the body,
Mhm,
right? Any emotion, right, is not healthy when it's stuck and locked into the body or locked into your nervous system or locked into your thoughts. It can make you sick over time. I
and
mean, both of my parents had, in my opinion, rage issues, and they both died of cancer. So it's just why not write that nasty letter? It's not like you're going to send it. You probably shouldn't.
well, no, and thank you because, I meant to kind of mention this earlier. A huge portion of my audience are people recovering from breakups, and so
Mm,
maybe kind of we can wind things down, talking about that.
yeah.
And if you've never experienced rage before, you might during your breakup because it is so
Mhm.
unsettling to the body.
Yeah.
It produces so many different chemicals that we may have never really had high levels of in our body because it can be so shattering. It can actually cause our IQ to lower. It's
Mm,
very, very, very destabilizing. And when you're feeling all of these things, it's actually very easy to then begin to feel rage and aggression. And
mhm.
I want you to know that everything that we've said during this episode can help you, including this letter writing concept. I think that it might seem like a cliche that a breakup coach would say to write a letter you never send, but I have done it
Yeah.
myself and I have seen it completely transform my clients' healing journeys.
Mhm.
And going back to what Patty said, it's when you don't process your anger and rage
Right.
and hurt feelings over what your ex put you through or just this we stay in relationships when we're unhappy, and many so-called negative feelings are going to arise, and if you don't process these things, that is when you stay stuck. And you
Mhm.
can, through even a breakup from someone who wasn't you weren't meant to be with, you can cause yourself to stay stuck and in the past for a very
Yeah.
long time if you don't embrace this shit and work through it.
You'll carry it into the future.
Mhm.
Like,
Always.
I always whenever I have a breakup, I really go through with, like, what worked for me, what was wonderful, what would I like to have again, and what didn't work for me, and what did I learn, and how can I ask for this differently or better, or, like, what is it that I need,
Mhm.
in the next relationship? If you give yourself that time to just reflect and be with, then you're not going to carry that stuff into the future, especially if you give yourself the time to really feel all of the emotions that arise. Because it could be rage, it could be guilt, sadness, fears. Like, relationships are meant, in my opinion, to help us to grow and to become better
Mhm.
people. And so, if you don't have that self reflection time, then you'll miss that opportunity. There's so many gold nuggets, like right after a breakup, that
Mhm.
you can really tune into and be like, wow, okay, that really wasn't for me. Or, yeah, I really love that. More of that, please.
So, yes, maybe, hit rewind and listen to
Mhm.
this over again, and also know that feeling angry and feeling rage and looking at maybe all of the ways that you weren't served in the relationship is actually a really healthy thing
Yeah.
to do, rather than pushing all of this down or tricking yourself into thinking that it wasn't actually that bad. Taking a realistic look at everything can only help you to get to the next chapter and to get unstuck, and to then either enjoy being single or eventually be able to connect with someone in an even healthier way.
Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, this is like where I think erotic innocence comes in,
okay.
right? Because if we allow ourselves to just be curious with everything that's arising, rage comes up. Okay, what am I angry at? What is it about that that makes me angry? What do I need in order for this to not be like a sore point? Getting really curious with whatever is arising and allowing that erotic energy to flow through, then you're going to get to a different
Mhm,
place in your evolution, right?
mhm.
Instead of being stuck in like the just stuck. That's what that feels like.
for for sure. And if you can
In a
fully
hamster wheel.
if you can fully pinpoint the things in your relationship that made you feel angry or full of
Mhm.
rage, you have a
Rage.
much less chance of seeing them pop up in your next relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for this conversation. Who is
Mhm.
ready to go and rage
Go
it
to a rage
up?
room or a smash room.
Yes.
It's so
Oh, maybe
good.
I should do a sponsor a smash room someday.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you, Patty, for everything that you shared. Thank you to everyone who pushed play today. Because if you pushed play on an episode about sacred rage, then that probably means that you might have a feeling that you have something inside of you that you want to look at. And I applaud you for that.
Mhm. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Mm.
everyone.
Mhm. Thank you. All right. Thank you to everyone who listened or watched. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you next time. Bye,
Bye
Patty.
for
Bye,
now. Bye.
Rage.
Rage.
Oh, perfect.